Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching Dexter Resurrection episode 5, and this show just keeps getting better and better. And off the bat, before we even get into actually anything about the episode, no, I don't think this one is as good as episode 4, but it's damn close to it. And it's still a very, very, very solid episode. There hasn't been one bad one yet in this show. I think that is a true testament to a new spinoff. I can't believe I'm saying that we're 5, about to be 6 episodes into a season of Dexter, and I literally don't have one flaw at all to the show. I think it's just done such an incredible job. So this episode picks up immediately where episode 4 left off, where Dexter meets up with Harrison to prevent Harrison from turning himself in. And I was really worried about how they were going to handle it. And I watched this episode twice just to make sure I had my opinion set on this. In the very first time I watched the episode, I was a little bit underwhelmed by the reunion, at least the first time. When I was watching the episode and I saw their reunion, I was a little bit underwhelmed at how that played out, where Harrison was in real denial and shock and called him a horror movie villain and stuff like that. I just didn't think they got into stuff the way that I wanted to, but then on the second viewing I thought it was great, especially when it all comes full circle in the end, which we're going to get to. But in retrospect, having viewed it twice now, I think it was actually done really, really well. So essentially, when Harrison finds out that Dexter's alive by Dexter preventing him, Harrison is in denial, just saying no, there's no way, I killed you. How did you make it out of Iron Lake? How are you not in jail? How did you not die? And I'm really glad they didn't shy away from those questions, because those questions are still very, very, very valid. So for him to ask that and for him to be very upfront about that was something that I thoroughly liked to see. And they had a real honest conversation. Obviously, in that moment, Harrison wasn't ready to forgive Dexter or anything like that. So obviously he's still in denial at this point in the episode. And that's obviously, I wasn't expecting him to be like, oh my God, Dad, I'm so sorry. I wasn't expecting any of that. I don't know exactly what on my first viewing it was that I was expecting for me to initially have some sort of issue, I guess you could call, with it. But regardless, I still thoroughly enjoyed everything they did there. So then after that, after Harrison pushes Dexter away, Dexter's like, okay, well, I literally have no one. He's watching people in his Uber kiss and stuff. He's like, I literally have no one, but there's this girl who's not that ugly that that I like. I thought that was really interesting, and then that set up the whole premise for this episode, which was Lady Vengeance. And okay, before I even get to Lady Vengeance, it is episode 5, and we've already seen now 2 of the killers in this whole group, in this whole organization thing. We've seen 2 of them now be either killed or brought to justice by Dexter. Things are moving quickly. And I think that's the one thing I like the most about this season of Dexter is nothing at the moment, nothing at all feels like it's moving too quickly and unbelievable. It feels like the pace is just on fire and they're not leaving anything on the table. So I really like that. And this episode obviously follows suit, and it follows suit really, really well with the whole story of Lady Vengeance, where Dexter obviously thinks this is going to be a great pairing because Dexter, well, obviously he's hiding about the fact that he's Dexter Morgan, the Bay Harbor Butcher, and he's going under the name and alias of Red. But regardless of that, he's into this girl who, in his mind, has a code just like him. Kind of like Lumen, a little bit like Lila, somewhere in there. And he thinks this is the first person he could really open up to about all of this, given she literally has a code like him. But that's quickly changed after their date, and he realizes that she's just a killer. She wants to kill anyone. I thought that was really interesting, and it did it in a way where early in the episode when I was watching it, I thought for sure that this was going to be a long series love interest that we were going to follow for a long time. And I was very excited about that because I've always been a Kristen Ritter fan, and I think her introduction into this series was matched with a lot of chemistry that I really enjoyed to see on screen and play out. So I'm not a shipper or anything like that, but I was definitely shipping them. I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't saying it online, but in my head I was like, they'd be pretty good together. I agree with Dexter too. She's not bad looking. My girlfriend's gonna kill me if she sees that. Whatever. Okay, that's a little bit of a joke. The point I'm making at large is they worked well together. And then the way it happened, where it was revealed that she was actually a bad person, like a genuine bad person and not someone with like a code, I fell for it and then wanted her to die, which I think is an incredible job of the writers, because I went from one extreme of how I felt about her to the other in one episode. And I think that's an incredible thing that Clyde Phillips and the writing team can do. I don't think he was the one that actually wrote the script of this episode, but he broke the story. Regardless, I loved how they made me go from one extreme to the other with this character. And I love the way they executed that. Obviously, Dexter's smarter, and I would have been pissed if they just killed her. Dexter's smart enough to realize that if he did just kill her, that obviously Leon and the crew would be onto him. So he didn't do it. So he framed her, I should say, in the best way possible. Again, here I am glazing over everything about an episode, but this might be the best season of Dexter. If this momentum keeps up, this might beat season 4 and 2 for me. This is an outstanding season of TV. Regardless, let me get back to it. While the whole thing that went down, while he framed Lady Vengeance, he framed her for the murder of who Harrison killed by putting the watch in her collection box. I didn't see that. I watched the episode twice to make sure I wasn't missing anything. And maybe it was like for a split second that he said something about it. But when it was revealed that the watch was in the box of whatever you call it, collective items, or I don't know what you call it, like trophies. That's the word, trophies. When that happened, I flipped the fuck out. I was like, yo, what the fuck? But before we got to that, and I forgot to mention this, before we got to that scene, Dexter, Michael C. Hall, does the funniest ever impression of a New Yorker I've ever heard in my life when he's calling the cops to report about Lady Vengeance. He's like, "It's the Lady fucking Vengeance." It's so funny. I absolutely love that he did that. It made me crack up. And that's what I love about the show. When it's funny, it's really funny. When it's serious, it's really serious. And it nails every element on that spectrum. And this show is just doing it all. So obviously, there's 2 other parts in this episode, I think, unless I'm missing more, that I forgot to talk about. One's the Leon Prater and Leslie Stahl. Leslie Stahl, that's the word, I couldn't get that out well. Leslie Stahl scenes. If there's one element of this episode I didn't like, it's that Leslie Stahl's acting felt very forced to me. And I obviously, I know that she's not really an actor, she's a journalist, so I get that. But every time they cut to them, it was just these dry, forceful, weirdly acted conversations, mainly, I think, on Leslie's fault. Peter Dinklage is always incredible, so even when I didn't like those scenes, I still liked him. But that was the one thing that kind of held me back. Sure, it's cool to see Leslie Stahl in an episode of Dexter interviewing someone who's our antagonist. That's interesting, sure. But it was just, that was the moment that took me out of it. And then this isn't a negative or anything like that, but the only other thing that I'm just bringing up that's off head that happened in this episode is we saw Angel Batista witness all of this on screen and see oh, Harrison apparently didn't kill Ryan? But that doesn't make any sense because it fits perfectly and Lady Vengeance doesn't do any of that. So we saw in the trailer for episode 6 that that's going to play a big role into this investigation. I think what's going to happen is somehow Batista is going to get in the room with Mia and talk to Mia, and then from there realize, oh shit, she was talking to Dexter. Dexter was doing this for Harrison. I have a feeling something like that's going to play out, and dude, it is putting Batista on the fucking chopping block. I'm telling you, this is great. This season is just genuinely awesome. I love every bit of it. Every element of the stakes for me works. Every piece of the pacing works for me. The story, the direct, everything. I mean, again, the thing I'm still a little cautious about is how quickly things are unfolding. Things really are moving quick in terms of, how it goes with Dexter killing all of the villains and stuff like that. I'm a little worried about that, but I think up to this point, they've done such an excellent job of showing the reality, I guess you could say, of it, that I'm willing to look past it. This is a prime example of a show where I'm willing to subvert expectations, even if there's some small contrivances, because the pros significantly outweigh any of the cons. It's not even close. The pros are up here, cons are way out of frame down here. I genuinely applaud the show for being able to do something like that, because it's not an easy task. I mean, if you think about it, if you look at any other show that's doing this, usually the cons weigh a little bit stronger, especially I'm talking spinoff. And the reason I bring that up, I mainly bring up like The Walking Dead because everyone thinks I'm such a negative Nancy on that show. It's because it sucks. Like, it genuinely sucks. This is good. This is how you do a spinoff. There's ways you do a spinoff and ways you don't do a spinoff, and this is the way you do a spinoff. So yeah, okay, I've been babbling for way too long. The general point I'm trying to make is, though this episode wasn't as dynamite as episode 4, I'd still give it a 9.5, maybe even a 10 out of 10. Like, this was a great episode. There has not been one bad there hasn't been one moment that I've been genuinely bored. Episodes 1 and 2 were slower, so those had a bit more boring of a pace, but those weren't boring. You know what I mean? Like, there hasn't been one bad moment of this show yet. I'm loving it. I can't wait to see episode 6 because, honestly, that one looks just as good as these past two with all the stakes and everything with Batista, and oh my God, I'm so excited. The only other thing I forgot to mention is the further conversation between Harry and Dexter, where Dexter finally opened up to Harry about how Rita died and how he felt guilty and all of that stuff. I thought that was a great scene, and it fully awarded those moments for me because the first moment between Harrison and Dexter, yeah, obviously he asked the good questions that I thought were satisfying, but something about it didn't like scratch my itch. But then when we got to the ending scenes with Dexter and Harrison after he framed Lady Vengeance and all of that stuff, I thought it was actually wonderful. I thought they did a great job with it. Now I'm really interested to see where this goes with Harrison now, again, being on Dex's side. It's going to make for good TV. It's already good TV. But yeah, that's all I have to say. Definitely leave your thoughts down in the comments. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Did you feel the same enthusiasm? Did you glaze as much as I did? Or did you not like it? Either way, let me know in the comments down below, and be sure to follow me on Instagram. It's jerrys.takes, and X, it's jerrys_takes. Don't ask me why. And with all that out of the way, thanks again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.